Hello and welcome myself and Enda Varley here. We were hoping to have Jared Brennan in, but he was a late withdrawal. I think some parenting duties came in, so Jared had to opt out. We were hoping to have a clash of the St Vincent's man against for 5 years, St Vincent's man, Enda Varley, but you're back with Garrymore and no doubt delighted to get away from the scummy Dubs.
Jesus.
Everyone knows I'm joking.
Yeah, that's one way. That's one way of putting it. That's one way of putting it. Yeah, look, I haven't long left now, Shane. So I said I'll give a year to Gary. The brothers are select this year, so I said I'd go back for the crack.
Yeah, you couldn't resist that.
Guaranteed my place.
No doubt deserved. So just thinking of this weekend and Dublin against Mayo, it's obviously a yearly thing at this point. But another point then is that the Kerry and Tyrone game, that's been moved back to the 21st of August. You know, it was initially put back 6 days. Now it's put back another few more. The final's on September the 4th. If there's going to be an issue of Tyrone not being able to put out a full team or anything like it, it's no harm putting it back a little bit more because, you know, the final will take place, Dublin or Mayo, whoever will still be ready. There's no issue, no reason not to do this.
No, look, it's a difficult situation for both teams. Tyrone, obviously, the quarantine thing is a deliberation for them, but you know, it is what it is. They can't do much about it unless I know there's talk today of them putting it back 2 weeks. Obviously, the amateur ethos of the whole organisation. You know, people are kind of giving out that they could have given them 2 weeks, especially with the 14-day quarantine. But they've made the decision now, and I suppose we're just going to roll with it and see what happens. It's an unfortunate situation. Look, at Mayo were dealt the same cards before the Leitrim game in terms of there's a good few of the squad with COVID issues and training was disrupted. So it is. Look, Shane, it's just the last couple of years. It's just where it's at.
Yeah, and obviously the Wi-Fi. I'm sure people have noticed the Wi-Fi connection is a little bit ropey, but hopefully it'll stay stable enough. And we'll get through. We'll plough through the chat anyway. And so, do you think that there's no better rivalry in the GAA at the moment, or certainly not in Gaelic football, than Mayo against Dublin? The games over the last 10 years, some of which you've been involved in, have been pretty much epic. I'd say is the atmosphere very similar to Tipperary, Kilkenny when those atmospheres were flying at about 10 years ago, especially. What's it like playing in the middle of one of those? And is there hatred between the teams, or certainly when you were playing, was there hatred between the teams?
Yeah, interesting. I suppose I just listened to a snippet of, we say, Paddy Andrews is on about it, and Dublin kind of had that siege mentality of you know, he said we did hate Mayo at the time because obviously that rivalry was there. As he said there, this is like an annual conversation with us here because they meet pretty much every year. 6 out of the last 7 years they've met. In the last decade, it's been 8 out of 10, I think it is. So, and Mayo have obviously pushed Dublin to the brink on a number of those occasions. So, as Paddy alluded, that, you know, Mayo were trying to take something away from Dublin, and they're going to, you know, do whatever it took to obviously to get over the line. And mentioned a situation in 15 where Dermo got, I think, got sent off against Leroy. Wouldn't be like him, but and then Philly McMahon, he got there's talks of him being suspended on the Sunday game, and then that week in Dublin, Paddy was obviously saying that, you know, they brought that in, that siege mentality. Everyone's out to, and, you know, he says obviously, look, at the time probably did hate Mayo, and look, Mayo players is exactly the same. When, as you said before, Shane, when that rivalry is so intense and that the scoreline is so close, and obviously Mayo are trying to bridge that gap, and Dublin have obviously edged us out on a number of occasions. So when that competition is there, you know, that, you know, the two squads of players, I know myself, like from an intercounty setup, the 30 lads in there are very, very competitive by nature, and they will do whatever it takes to get over the line. And then the two we're talking about here are no different.
Yeah, it does cross the line at times, doesn't it? I mean, that's just the nature of it. When you have two teams that want to go at each other, sometimes it is going to go over the line.
Yeah, I suppose, look at it, when I suppose the teams have kind of turned over a bit now. Back, I suppose the rivalry kind of hit its peak probably back in 16 and 17 maybe. The two teams were still kind of the core of the team. The two teams are still there. Obviously, the two teams have changed over a bit now. And look at that rivalry, Kerry. As I said before, Kerry, Dublin, and Mayo. Last decade or the last 8 or 9 years, they've kind of kept the competitiveness going in Gaelic football. Now, I don't want to obviously Donegal and Tyrone obviously there as well, but you'd kind of have to. You kind of have to say that Mayo and Dublin and Kerry were the three teams that were the most competitive in the last decade.
Yeah, without doubt. And so this weekend going into the game, there's been retirements on both sides. Dublin have a few lads that aren't lining out this year. And, in Jack McCaffrey's case, he didn't line out last year either. The Stephen Cluxton thing, Paul Mannion isn't there. And then there was 6 retirees on the Mayo side of things. Now, David Clark was starting last year. Chris Barrett was starting last year. So still in all, like the starting teams probably aren't massively different. So it's probably like if you're previewing the game, is it massively different to how you would have previewed it last December?
Yeah, I was thinking about that during this week. Like we had this conversation last December, and I was favouring Dublin to beat Mayo, and sure enough, the bookies had it right. It was -4, and Dublin closed out the game by winning by 4 points. But yeah, I think it is a small bit different this year, Shane. I'm definitely more confident going into this game. I think obviously Dublin losing Paul Mannion is a huge blow to them. I think Mayo have matured over the last 8 months. The young guys coming through, they've gotten more experience. I think the Galway game showed the athleticism, the power, the pace that Mayo possess. I think obviously the incidents during with Dublin were very un-Dublin like. There's some chatter coming out of the Dublin kind of camp that would be a bit surprising, to be quite honest with you. And the biggest thing for me is, they might prove me wrong this Saturday, but I don't think Dublin possessed the same bench as they had in previous years. I don't see that firepower coming off the bench. Last year we'd say Howard and Mannion came off the bench, and they, especially Howard, like he made a huge difference. He was probably the game winner. Like so, I just Dublin have lost a number of players over the last number of years, and they haven't. Before they replaced them with like for like, but I don't think the same caliber of player is coming through at the moment from Dublin's end. And that's why I'd give Mayo more of a shout. I think it's the best chance Mayo have of beating Dublin in a number of years, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, and obviously Stephen Cluxton is maybe the biggest one of the lot. You've come up against Evan Comerford, I'm sure, a few times when you were playing for St Vincent's. Is he the same level? Like, he's obviously very good, but is he quite that same level? And we don't know what he's going to be like under the Mayo press.
You're like, is he the same? Only time will tell, Shane. I don't want to be too harsh on the guy here. He's obviously still very young. Look at it. You can't say like what Stephen is 20 years experience, his organizational skill from a backline point of view. He'd be one of their main speakers, and obviously the back six with Stephen behind them, the anxiety levels would be a lot less, I would assume. Like, but with Evan, obviously, look, the kickouts a huge factor this Saturday. Mayo are going to target that, put the squeeze on. They'll probably go 11. They'll press up as much as they can. They'll probably go 11 in Dublin's half and really squeeze Evan and see how he copes with that, because as we said before, especially in Gaelic football now, it's become massive, because obviously the score ratio increases when you can turn over the opposition kick out. So that's a huge from Mayo's point of view. And obviously from Dublin's point of view, they're going to be pressing on Robbie as well. Clarkey last year, they're cute enough. Mayo overloaded one side. Clarkey basically hit a lot of the kickouts from on the right hand side, and Mayo got 2 or 3. So basically, the wing back from the other side, they overloaded one side with extra men, so obviously had the advantage. It's risky, but it obviously came off on the day. And no one, obviously, going into that game, everyone was on about Clarkey's kickouts. Mayo could be in trouble. Dublin's going to turn them over, but there wasn't a word about that after the game, and that was a strategic move by Mayo on the day, and it worked very well. So again, only Saturday will tell. Will Evan be able to, and it's not about Evan either. It's about obviously the movement from Dublin backline, the midfielders, the wing forwards, what kind of structure they have in place to give Evan the best opportunity to kick out that ball in terms of the channels they create. We'll see on Saturday what happens there.
And do you see any situation where what happened with Niall Morgan and Rory Beggan a couple of weeks ago in the Ulster final, where they came out the field to contest kickouts, that could happen with Henley or with Comerford?
No, I don't think so. No, definitely. Well, no, definitely not that far out. Definitely not that far out. Now, look, if it's a ploy at the end of games. If you're down by 2 or 3 points and you're going for the juggler, obviously that's talked about in the dressing room. The goalie comes out and presses the last man, and then that defender goes up again to the next man. So you compress the pitch, and obviously the goalie is looking at a lot more Mayo shirts. So no, that's not Mayo and Dublin's kind of. I can't see that happening, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, and the way there's a couple of things that stand out to me. The last couple of All-Irelands, Mayo conceded a goal after 13 seconds to Dublin. I think it was last year. The year before, Dublin win that throw-in. I presume, I'm trying to remember who exactly won the throw-in, but Owen Merchant ended up getting a goal almost instantly against Kerry in one of those other games. What do you do to stop that? Because it is the one time that you are left mano a mano at the back, and if you lose that throw-in, you're in bother.
Yeah, well, that's a coaching, as in from a defender's point of view, it's I'd have to, whoever's centre back that day in Mayo, I'd have to place a bit of blame on the doorstep, because you're following your man out to the wing here, as in whoever, McCarthy and Merchant had the ball going straight down the centre of your defence, and yet you're following your man out to the wing who's no danger. So that doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. That's not exactly a team ethos to me. Your defenders at backs, the score line, just because your man doesn't score doesn't mean you're not at fault for one of the goals or a score. So to me, the Mayo have to be a bit cute in that regard. And also, Shane, the last especially last year, Dublin are very good in these big games getting pan goals, and it does. I've watched it so many times now, and Chrissy, for the first goal last year, you said it was 13 seconds with McCarthy, and Chrissy Barrett came across, and it's a natural an instinct by the defender. Chrissy made the decision for James McCarthy very easy to cross that ball across to Dean, and a pan goal is a much easier goal to get than if James McCarthy took that shot on against one of the best shot stoppers in the game, in David Clark. So whoever is coming through this Saturday, and it will happen, whoever's coming through for Dublin this Saturday, let him take the shot on. Don't give him the easy option of pan goal, because it is a collective chat that Dublin have in terms of it's a team goal. They talk about, let's get the pan goal. Let him look at. You can live with if you take on it and he buries it. It's a tough skill to execute. Don't give him the easy option and give him the easy pan across the goal to a spare man, and he pans it in the net. Does my head in.
So what do you make of the progression of some of the Mayo players over the last 12 months or so? Oisin Mullen looks just more and more of a tank every day. Padraig O'Hora has been going quite well. I know he's had a bit of an injury issue. Tommy Conroy's turned into a tank as well. And then what about the older players? Like Aidan O'Shea just turned 30. Lee Keegan's getting a little bit older. His position has changed. So what are you making of the development of some of these players and the evolution of others?
Yeah, look, we touched on at the start of this interview. The power of athleticism that them guys possess is huge, and that's what's going to kind of hopefully get them over the line. Look, with the boys you mentioned there, I know James is all about the matchups, and as you said there, Oisin is turned into the Leroy of 5 years. He's his pace and power, his speed, endurance is unbelievable. So, you're talking Oisin, you're talking Leroy, and you're talking Paddy Durkin will get the three main men on the Dublin forward line, and Padraig O'Hora is close behind there. So, I come Saturday, I'd like to see, who, you're talking about matchups here. You're probably Paddy Durkin on Scully. You're going to go probably. O'Sheen is playing centre back, but I have a feeling he's going to go back on Con and Leroy on Kilkenny. Leroy's done quite well in Kilkenny in the past, and Leroy in the last couple of occasions has Con has probably beaten him a couple of times, which is. I'm not all the blame on Leroy's door there because the ball coming into him. It's a lot of things happening there. But them three boys will probably match up with them three lads, and then obviously Porrick O'Hora will probably do possibly Dean Rock or Cormac Costello. So it'll be interesting there in terms of can them boys get those Dublin lads on the back foot. You saw it against Galway. The boys driving up the field. It's very hard. Them boys have huge jets. They are hard to mark. And if Mayo get any sort of prime possession midfield and ball, and the Dublin lads are chasing them lads, it'll be a long 70 minutes for them. But you're on about Ado there. I'd like to see probably Ado inside this time. I think he probably against Dublin. I just think he possesses something that they're afraid of in terms of he'll get too behind them. Like we're saying there about the boys driving through the middle in terms of their athleticism. Well, that'll create channels for those boys. Extra if an extra player is minding Ado, then there's going to be obviously extra men out the field for them to roll. So Mayo seem to be running the ball a lot more this year, especially against Galway in the second half. So look, if they're getting joy from that, the Dublin lads are going to have to push out, and obviously that leaves Ado 1-on-1 inside then you can launch a few balls into him. Mayo possess a lot of tools that obviously Dublin would be full of. So obviously with Kevin McLaughlin too, he came on the last day against Galway, made a huge difference. I think he's the best half forward Mayo possess, in terms of creating that that kind of go-to guy in the half forward line to transition that ball from the half back line into the half forward line. So there's another guy that I'm kind of hoping he's going to start. Yeah.
So another thing I'm wondering about is, the first half against Galway wasn't overly impressive. 5 to 6 points down at half time. Second half, Galway didn't score for long spells. They didn't score until the 61st minute in the second half. But they did have that goal chance where Shane Walsh kind of went up for a high ball. I think it came down, almost went in. They did leave a few chances behind them. So were you more impressed with Mayo in the second half, or would you be looking at any concerns from their first half, thinking that's where Dublin will make a bit of hay?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, Shane. What was the difference? They created 2 goal chances. They took the 2 goal chances. Mayo didn't create any goal chances. So if Mayo are going to win this game, they have to score 1 or 2 goals here, and that's my biggest fear going into the game. That Dublin are so good at getting goals, and as an attacking unit, they know exactly what they want to do and where they want to get you. And when's the last time Dublin didn't score a goal in a game? I certainly can't remember it. So Mayo still tend to give goal chances. That's been our Achilles heel the last number of years. Hopefully we can mind the house come Saturday.
Yeah, Dublin didn't actually score a goal against Wexford there in the Leinster quarter-final. They won 15 points to 17, which feeds into the next point. It does feed into the next point, though. They weren't overly impressive against Meath. They won 2-16 to 1-13, and Meath dominated the second half. And this was several weeks after Kerry dominated the second half against them, and even Kildare. It was the lowest winning margin that Dublin had against Kildare in a provincial final, or against anyone in a provincial final, for 8 years. So, surely all these things begin to add up. There's a lot of players with huge miles on the clock, and maybe 1 or 2 of the lads who've come in aren't quite at that old level of some of the other players like McCaffrey, etc., who aren't there.
Yeah, well, this why we're saying, this why we're giving Mayo this Saturday as the reasons you alluded to there. obviously, as you said there, Dublin have lost a lot of core players the last number of years, a lot of experience. Stephen Cluxon going this year, Paul Mannion going this year can't be underestimated. And you're looking at the return that Dublin their base year is not as big as other years. And as you said there, the teams that played in Leinster before, like, there was a chink this year, and there hasn't been a chink in the last number of years. And look, Shane, it's natural, as you said there, the number of guys there with the miles on the clock here. It's they're going to be some time, and boys having their six in a row, like motivational wise, it's a tough place to be every single year. Going to big games and trying to get over in here, so it will come back against them eventually, and that's why the things whispers coming out, or not whisper, like the things that are happening in the Dublin camp this year are very obviously un-Dublin like, and obviously lads walking away. It's very unusual, Shane, for lads to walk away from that are winning All Irelands on a consistent basis, on an annual basis. But that kind of tells you, things aren't exactly rosy in the garden. Things aren't going exactly right.
And I know obviously you can't kind of give away or betray confidence in anyone, but like, is it stuff to do with like the training isn't at the same level, or just lads just haven't had enough, or what sort of stuff you hear? And obviously you don't want to give away too much or kind of put finger anyone out,
Say it again, Shane. You broke up there.
Well, just as you're saying, like that you're hearing unusual things, or the words coming out of the camp now without naming any names or anything like that. Is it stuff like that training isn't quite the same, or that lads have had enough, or tactics are different, or
Yeah, well, no, like, as in, look, I suppose, but it's like anything in life, Shane. Like, obviously, it's a chapter in your life, intercounty football, and it's a huge part of your life. And if you got your 5-6 All-Ireland medals, like, obviously the boys are kind of thinking here. Look at Jack McCaffrey, look at Paul Mannion. They're kind of thinking, right, from a career perspective, I need to kind of, am I going to give up all my 20s in intercounty football? Obviously, it's a great honour, but I've done what I've done. And the hunger, the motivation probably goes from guys, which is natural when you have that, you've that amount of stress, and it's just part of life. Time, obviously time moves on. Players come through, but with Cluxon this year, like it's very that's a very strange example. And even with Philly, I read the article with Philly this week with obviously Bohemians, and he might not be able to make the game, and like obviously look, and people kind of took it for Philly was saying that I'm not bothered, like, but I think that's part of like his career is obviously he has to balance his career and football, and obviously he's had a massive success with Dublin. So he's probably concentrating on his career a bit more now than is football. Would you say football is his number one priority now at the moment? Probably not. And would you have said that 10 years ago? Absolutely not. But obviously time moves on, lads move on, lives move on. So it's the way it is.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair point. And of course, Kevin McManaman's been away with the boxing team also, and these are all guys who have, they've helped see that Dublin team over the line in these tight games. Like, you could argue, like, let's say Kevin McLaughlin comes off the bench, that who knows, maybe Mayo have got the more instrumental players on the bench this year. And like you mentioned, the difference with Howard coming on last year. So do you know what? I actually am leaning towards Mayo to win this game. Are you leaning that way, or do you still think Dublin, the whatever it is, the aura, all the different things, the experience of winning?
Yeah, I do think I think Mayo will win by 2 or 3 points. I think the reasons we were saying earlier. I just think Dublin. There's a chink this year. I think Mayo have even the bench. Owen McLaughlin is another guy to watch out for if he comes off the bench. He was a huge impact against Galway the other day. Like, I just think Dublin will struggle with Mayo's running power. The three things that Mayo possess is the running power from the half back line, the and obviously the athleticism. I think Kevin McLaughlin and Ryan O'Donoghue offer a good transition ball from in the half forward line. They stick eight inside. He offers another different dimension on the inside line. So within those three factors, and if Robbie can get his kickouts, if he can get a high percentage of kickouts completed into Mayo hands, and you don't give Dublin that go forward ball, well, I think Mayo are in a very strong position to get over the line. Obviously, look, would I be totally surprised if Dublin won on Saturday? Absolutely not. But this year, look, I was very adamant last December that Dublin would win. Because I felt they had more coming off the bench and they had more firepower coming off the bench, which proved the difference in the last 50 minutes. Mayo were still in that game in the last 50 minutes, but come 60 minutes on clock, 62 minutes, I was looking at that game and I was thinking, this game is over. Dublin managed it quite well, managed it very well. They just kill games. Even again there, the Kildare, it was Meath. Meath they were only like 3 or 4 points down, and they literally killed 5 minutes. And they're so good at game management and keeping that ball recycling around, and the 89% shot ratio, they get around the D, and they usually score a point out of it. So look, if Dublin get ahead of Mayo in the last 15 minutes, well, then it's going to be very hard for Mayo to win that game. But I just see Mayo, obviously they're a hungry side. They have a lot of youth coming through. They have a serious amount of power and athleticism coming through. And I think if the boys can, Scully was a huge factor last year. Padger went off for Mayo at half time, and Scully became a huge factor in the second half. I think Paddy and Oisín give Mayo a huge advantage going forward. And if they can get Scully and Kenny on the back foot, well, then that Dublin transition then is going to be slowed down a bit.
Yeah. Just the final thing before I let you go, because the line is a small bit ropey. The time you beat them in 2012, I think the writing was on the wall. It was coming. Even the manner that they limped over Laois, I think, in the quarter-final that year, the fact that Alan Brogan was maybe injured and they brought him on and had to take him back off. And just like looking at Dublin this year, there's so many kind of signs that maybe they're not quite the same level as last year or the year before. I don't think you can ignore that. But so, number one, the fire must be in the Mayo dressing room to make sure that they actually get over the line in this game. And number two, just what are your thoughts on the development of Tommy Conroy? Because, my God, the lad has bulked out and he's looking in serious form. Like, he goes straight at defenders.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear point one, but point two with Tommy Conroy, Shane, yeah, look, them boys, you can see the conditioning he's put on, and again, he's another guy, if Ado goes inside, like, he's a great fall for him. Like, he's so direct, he's so powerful, and I'd imagine, he had for his standards, he had a disappointing on last year. Obviously, he'd want to correct that this year. I think it was Mick Fitzsimons was on him last year, and he's a very, very good defender. So look, he would have learned from that experience. And look, where to win, boys, the midfield, Diarmuid and Matty Ruan with James McCarthy and Fenton, they have to break even with those two boys, and they have to really. Matty has come on again this year. Ryan O'Donoghue on this year, and he has to have a big day with the Frizz as well. Obviously, look, if Cillian O'Connor was fit and playing, I'd be much more confident. I would really, really go for Mayo, and he's a huge loss, obviously, to Mayo. I still think that with the new boys coming through and the extra year of experience, I remember saying to you probably, was it last year? I think it was a year too early for Mayo, and I just think another year. I've been in that situation myself, where we were a new squad in 2011, and in 2012. 2011, Kerry better us, and the last 10 minutes, 50 minutes, they just pulled away from us. But then you get belief from that. You get another year of conditioning, Shane, like these boys have gotten, and obviously James Horn is very good at instant belief. The squad, he'll be saying this week now that what an opportunity. It's Croke Park is made for us. It may be Dublin's home, second home as well, and all the stuff coming out of them. Like, and then the players will buy into that. It's a young squad, so it'll be a good game anyway, at least. So, what's your first question there?
No, the first question was just about like the fire that would be in the dressing room to beat this Dublin team finally, especially because I'm looking at the 2012 time, the time he beat them then, and everyone wasn't expecting it. The warning signs were there that Dublin weren't playing that well. How they went against Laois in the previous rounds, and like if you look at the team this year, you can't ignore their second half against Kerry. Their second half, like they beat Wexford 15-7. Fine, you can say it was just going through the motions, but normally they win that game by 25 points. Like that they were pushed so far against Meath and Kildare. You know, they were going to win those games, but like it's not really this. So that's why I think they're there for the taking. Most teams can't take them, but I think Mayo can.
Well, that's the point. In previous years, Shane, right? The squad players would have been putting against Wexford. That's a very a good example with 15-7. The squad, you know, the players on the Dublin 15 now, you put probably 13 or 14 off them, and they're guaranteed places. Back 3-4 years ago, that wasn't the case. Lads were coming off. The second 15 in Dublin were always. They weren't far off the first 15. You know, there was arguments before about the second 15 would win Leinster. You can't say that at the present moment. So that's why people are given obviously hope that Mayo can line here. So we're saying this now, right? And I think back to obviously Paddy Andrews, and he was saying a siege mentality. Dublin will have a siege mentality now this week. Going into the game, they use whatever they can get. They're saying there's a chink in the armour, we're finished, all this sort of jazz. Like, so, look, it'll be up to Mayo to the first 15-20 minutes to really go at them and see where it's at. Because I really do think 2 or 3 points Mayo can get over the line this time.
Yeah, well, either way, I hope it's an absolute cracker. As ever, Enda Varley, thank you very much for joining me, and we'll chat again soon.
Cheers, Shane. Cheers, mate. Thanks.